Okay, hi everybody. I'm actually at a conference today. I meant to tell you that the other day. So I'm going to do a short video on a little bit more with ratio and proportion. So why don't we put a title on these, that these are simply ratio and proportion. Okay, when you're done with this, I want you to staple it to your packet. Okay, all right, so we're going to solve these for x. And if you remember last time, whenever you have two fractions or ratios equal to each other, so this is actually a proportion, we can cross multiply. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I'm going to multiply these two together, and I get x times 30 is 30x is equal to, I'm going to multiply the other two together, I do 5 times 96. Okay, so I get 30x is equal to, and when I multiply 5 times 96, you can see that? Yep, we can. 5 times 96, I get 480. Okay, now I'm going to solve it for x. So if I divide by 30, I'm running out of space here. I'm simply, if I do 480 divided by 30, I get 16. Okay? So the x value for this is 16, which this is really saying, 5 over 16 is the same proportion or ratio, I should say, or is in proportion to 30 over 96. And if I go ahead and type that in, if I do 5 divided by 16, I get 0.3125. And if I do 30 divided by 96, oops, I only want to do it once, I get the same thing. Okay, so that says that they're equal. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do the second one. So again, we're going to cross multiply. So I always like doing the bottom to the top on the first one. So in that case, I'm going to get 5 times x. If I do the other one, I'd always put a parenthesis around it. I have two terms there. That's going to equal 2 times x plus 3. Okay? All right, so we got a little multiplication to do on the right side. So I'm going to keep the 5x the same. Here I get 2x plus 6. Make sure you distribute the 2 to both of them. Okay, I got to combine like terms. So when I go ahead and combine, or I don't have any like terms on the same side, but I have to move, I have all my numbers here, so I got to bring my variables over. So I'm going to move that 2x over by subtracting 2x. Okay, and I simply get 5x minus 2x is 3x equals 6. If I divide by 3, I get that the x value is 2. Okay? So really what that's saying, okay, if I plug it back in, I get what? 2 plus 3 is 5, divided by 5 is 1. Here I get 2 over 2 is in fact 1. So the ratios are still in proportion. Okay? All right. So let's look at the next two. So I'm going to use a diagram for both of these. Okay? So I gave you the diagram with the letters on it. And by the way, I circled the lengths. Now that's just number 3. I circled the lengths to make it a little bit easier to see. And I gave you a proportion here. Okay, and it says AB over AE is equal to BC over ED. And I'm going to use the diagram to find the value or length of ED. So if I look at AB, that length there is 5. So I'm going to rewrite this as 5. If I look at the picture here, A to E is 7, so I get 5 over 7. I'm going to substitute in here. Do I know BC? B to C is 8. E to D I don't know, so why don't we call that x? Okay? Doesn't matter, you could just leave it as ED, either way. But now we're good at cross multiplying, so I get 7 times 8, we know that that's 56 is equal to, and if I do the other one, 5 times x is 5x. Okay, so I don't have any addition or subtraction to do at this point, so what I am going to do to both sides now is just divide by 5. And if I do 50, I believe that's 11.2. So if I do 56 divided by 5, I in fact get 11.2. Okay, so that length from E to D is 11.2. So 5 over 7 is the same as 8 over 11.2. All right, so let's look at B. So the next one says AB. So AB is how long? AB is 5, so I'm going to rewrite this, 5. AC C is this whole length. So that whole length is actually 5 plus 8. So I got to add those together. So that's 5 over 13 is equal to BE. We don't know that one. I'm not going to call that X, though. I'm going to call it a different variable, so I'm going to use Y there. So I'm going to call that Y over CD, which was what? 12. Okay? So all I did was substitute in those values. So now if I cross multiply, go over here, I'm going to do 13 times Y is equal to 5 times 12, which 5 times 12 I believe is 60. Okay, how do I get Y by itself? I'm simply going to divide by 13. And if I do 60 divided by 13, I get 4.6. I'm going to call that 2. Okay? And that is what that length is. So length of BE is in fact what? 4.62. Okay? Just remember, is this is getting small to big, and this is small to big. So this one certainly should be smaller than that one. And in fact, that one is. And if you looked here, this one, on the other side here, we did AB is to AE, is 8 is to this. Well, as we went down, since this got bigger, this side has to get bigger than 7. Okay? All right. So here's the last one on this page. Then we've got a couple more on the next page. So I gave you a proportion here, and we're looking to find QR. All right. So we don't know. So this is QR, so I'm going to call that X. Okay, since we don't know that one. So QR, we called X, or you could just leave it as QR, it doesn't matter. RS is 9 if I look at my diagram. TU, if I look there, that length is 6. And U to V is 12. Okay, so I substituted everything in. Okay, now at this point, I think we got it. We're going to cross multiply. So now I'm going to do 9 times 6 is equal to 12 times X. 9 times 6 is 54. To solve this, I'm going to divide by 12. If I divide by 12, 54 divided by 6, or divided by 12, I'm sorry, is 4.5. So QR, we know, is 4.5. Okay? Because now it says, how long is QS? Well, QS is that whole length, which is 9 plus 4.5, which is 13 and a half. Okay? All right. And then the next one says, how long is it from T to V? Well, if this is 6 and this is 12, that total length, I'm going to add those two together. And that's 6 plus 12, which is 18. Okay? All right. So we did some more ratio and proportion on here. You're given those ratios. Eventually, we're going to be setting those up. But, okay. So we're going to flip it over. I want you to flip it over to the back. We've got some word problems on the back, which I don't think you'll find terribly hard. You're going to see a few more of these in a few minutes. The first is a shadow problem. Okay? Because we got to, and then the second one is like a rate problem is a reading problem. Okay? All right. So it says if a 50-foot tall tree casts a 30-foot shadow, how long will the shadow be for a 15-foot flagpole? Hey, if we're going to draw a picture, so here's our tree, which is 50. And I'll put a little, okay, and its shadow is therefore what? 30. Okay? And now we've got a flagpole, okay? And its shadow and the flagpole is 15 feet. We're trying to find this shadow. Because remember, the shadow is always on the ground. Okay? All right. So we could do it from the picture, or we could do it from the words. Doesn't matter. Because you could do, because this is a height, and this is a shadow, right? So if we keep it consistent, in this case, and do height over shadow, or you could do shadow over height, it doesn't matter. Okay, so if I look at the first one, my height was 50 and the shadow was 30. It says 50 over 30. Okay, and then the flagpole, this was also a height because we're looking for its shadow, is going to be 15 over x. Okay, so again, we have a proportion. And by the way, you could have done 50 is to 30 as 15 is to x. You may have done that before. And that's fine. Or you can do 50 is to 15 as 30 is to x. I think it's easier to keep it this way. Okay, so if I cross multiply, I'm going to get 50x is equal to 15 times 30, which is 450, is equal to 50x. If I divide by 50, I get x is 9. Okay? Well, if you think about it, it's shorter than this one, so its shadow better be smaller too. Okay? Because if you get something shorter, it doesn't mean its shadow is going to be longer. It is, okay? It's proportional. It's directly proportional. It's not inversely proportional. That's what happens when one gets bigger, the other gets smaller. Okay, so last one says if it takes you 5 minutes to read 3 pages, how long will it take you to read 125 pages? So we have a time over pages. So if I keep that consistent, okay, so it was 5 over how many pages? 3. Okay, that's given to us. Okay, and then how long will it take you to read 125 pages? Well, this is a number of pages, so we got to figure out, does that go on the top or the bottom? Well, it's going to go on the bottom because these were pages, so this is pages. And we're trying to find this time, so I'm going to call it t this time for time. Okay, so if I go cross multiply at this point, I'm going to get 3t is equal to 5 times 125, or 3t, I believe that's 625. Yep, 625. So if I divide by 3, it's 208.33, and that would actually be in minutes. Okay? So if at that rate, if you can read, if it takes you 5 minutes to read 3 pages, it's obviously going to take you a lot longer to read 125, and in this case it works out to be 208. Okay? All right, so now you're going to go to your packet. I want you to do pages 10 through 14. You're going to see a couple of like these in there, and you're also going to see a couple like these. And that's page 5, you're doing just 10 through 14. Okay? Thank you.